What's up, beautiful people? It's BlisstOut. It's your girl, Leanne. Listen to a little music. Let's enjoy it. So that's one of Leanne's favorite songs. I love to bring creativity music always into my interviews, and this podcast here is all about Leanne Francis Bates. One of her favorite songs is Jaya Gadesh of Heaven and Earth, and it definitely reflects the beauty of her soul and all the wonderful questions and answers that are coming to hear live in BlisstOut Network. So welcome to the show, Leanne. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for having me.
So good to be with you as always, and so grateful for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm grateful for you as well.
Yeah. So guests that are watching, if you guys can see us or if you can hear us, we've got really good sound today. So if you don't have the eyes to see us, and if you have only the ears, get tuned in, because it's going to be a beautiful, juicy, and delicious collection of information about this beautiful soul's life, legacy, and what she has to offer the community. So Leanne, tell us your why. Tell us a little bit about your why.
Do I have a legacy already? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just at the beginning. Let me see, the why. So, I mean, you know, it's always an interesting question, because the why is like pretty much my entire life, but that's a long story. So let's like trim it down a little bit. And my why is really that through much life experience, I realized at a very young age how important relationships and connection, communication, and integration of our spiritual, sexual, mental, emotional, physical aspects of intimacy were for not only our personal health and our relationship with self, but for our impact in the world, or impact on our business. And my, not very secret why is that I think if we all truly learn to be intimate with ourselves and create these really fulfilling relationships with ourselves and others, that we would have a very different world around us that would be much more supportive of each individual and of the collective and of the next generations.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can feel that. I feel that. And that's why I think when we met at a tantric event with Andrew Resmer, and we had the ability to reflect, time and space, and hold space for one of those parts of your whys is, leads me to my next question is, what brought you to intimacy coaching? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it didn't happen. It wasn't like a purposeful thing at the beginning of my adventure. I wanted to start my own business. So I did a lot of research into things that I loved and that I found really useful, and decided to go back to school and got all of these beautiful tools and modalities and did mentorships and all of this, and really saw my life purpose with others as being unconditional love. So unconditional love, exploring that, learning it, embracing it, embodying it myself, and helping other people do it as well. And funny enough, at the time I owned wellness centers and stuff, and I very quickly got picked up kind of as a spiritual teacher and a spiritual keynote speaker. And I was like, oh, this is my purpose. Here I am. And slowly but surely, well, not slowly at all, surely, so many of my clients, they came in, and what was at the basis of them moving fully into this place of unconditional love was intimacy with themselves and intimacy with others, which also included, any kind of sexual intimacy issues and maybe sexual traumas that they were holding on, things that they didn't think were possible in their relationships, all of this kind of thing. I mean, it makes sense when you look at it, because of course, if you want to be unconditionally loving, that means you really have to be good at relationships in so many ways, right? We have to be really able to navigate them in a very different way than many of us are taught when we're younger. And so I did this, and I talked to coaches along the way, and they were like, and I was like, I really think I should include sexuality and relationships maybe as part of my like public offerings. And they all were like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have a really good, visibility with the public. People really respect you. You can't be teaching unconditional love, spirituality, and then include like sexuality and relationships and intimacy in it. It will ruin you. And of course, on a spiritual level, I was really looking at this, and I'm like, is this like really what is true, or is this like something also in me that might be resistant of this shift, or is this just kind of how society is, and I just can't maybe be all of me in our society, because it felt like the right thing. And eventually what happened is my business kind of came to a point where I just couldn't ignore it any longer. And I actually stopped working and I started meditating. Because I said to the universe, divine, whatever you want to call it, I said, give me guidance. Like, I don't feel aligned. I don't feel like this is the fullness of what I'm supposed to be offering. I don't want to market myself as this anymore. I still feel unconditional love is like a deep part of my purpose. There's something missing. And I just kept hearing, just wait, just wait, just wait. And if anybody has listened to the universe telling them to wait while they're not making money, it takes a lot of surrender. It's like, okay, I have some bills to pay. Could we speed this process up? And about 2.5 months later, 3 people that I absolutely love and adore and respect that are in the personal development industry and who I had known personally for a while and who made just way more successful than me. I'm like millions and millions and millions of dollars worldwide doing their work. And all 3 of them called me in the same week. And I have a rule: when I hear something 3 times, I absolutely listen to it. I do not argue with it. And each of them called me and said, what's going on? And I really just went into like a huge humility and said, what? I don't know. My business doesn't feel right. I feel like there should be a different niche. I don't know what it is. And all 3 of them said, well, Leanne, I think that where your magic is in intimacy and relationships. And each of them said that through knowing me and working with me, I had taught them to look at their relationships with their significant others in completely different ways that had completely transformed their marriages. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course. Because I had always taught people, like, usually your gift is that thing that you struggled with your entire life. And I had indeed been born into a family that really struggled with intimacy, love, and relationships, and had spent, years upon years upon years trying to unravel all of that. And so, yeah, I was like, I probably do have some skills in this area that I wasn't recognizing. And maybe it's okay for me to really embrace this, not as just a part of my business, but maybe as my full business. And I did that, and life-changing for me personally.
Cool. I love it. So what types of training have you taken? Tell us about those.
Oh my God, this is only half an hour right now. So I started off, well, it's hard to say. I officially thought I was starting off with hypnotherapy. So my first official designation was in hypnotherapy, all types of hypnotherapy, Erickson, spiritual, medical. I'm technically a medically trained hypnotherapist. But before that, which I didn't realize really was going to come full-fledged into my business, was when I was like 18, 19. I grew up in a very small town. We didn't have yoga studios. We didn't have the kind of things that maybe people in larger cities have. I had grabbed, Margaret Ann's book on sexual ecstasy, and I had started grabbing other books, and I had started studying Tantra. So from a very young age, I had studied Tantra. I was also involved in in kink without really knowing it too, which was kind of interesting. But I didn't know I was kinky because, again, small place. You know, when I meet people from big cities, they had like communities. We didn't really have that. Wasn't that thing?
Well, but you can stop there for a second, just because there was something in a little bit of me yesterday. I was like, I have these dice, and I'm like, I know you're the intimacy authority, so I was like, maybe I'll just surprise her with this and like throw it out into the, and it says navel and touch. So I don't know if that's pretty kinky, but I don't know if that means to you.
You know, it's so funny. I was just asked to do an article on this for a women's magazine, and it's like, how do you know if you're kinky? Because most people think they're not. And I also thought that I was not. I was like, whatever, I'm like just a normal person, right? Because there's so much mythology around kink, and so much like it must be harmful and it must be this and it must be that, that people think in their heads, and it's completely not true. You know, you can really be kinky in such a beautiful, conscious way, and it really in any way that fits you. So if you're someone that really wants it to just be more sensory and things like this, and to have, you know, things kind of be an extension of you and your sexual expression, you can. And I kind of say jokingly to people that in my mind, kink is kind of anything except for missionary. So if you're doing anything other than missionary, you're probably a little kinky without really knowing it. You know, do you like a little bite on the neck? Do you like giving it? You know, do you like, you know, maybe holding someone's wrists down? Do you enjoy sucking someone's toes or having your toes sucked? I mean, all of these things, you know, are you turned on by giving someone a foot massage, you know, right? Like, there's just so many things that we are turned on by that are technically kinky that we don't realize are kinky. So I think everyone's probably a little bit kinky because really it's just being explorative in your sexuality. I mean, if you even go on to kink websites, you'll see tantra included in the kink websites and things like this. So it's a huge field of play that you can enjoy.
Well, you're holding space for people too. So if you've done the studies that you have with the inner work, you know, what I really appreciate about you is that you have that ability to hold space for people from your studies, from your deeper work on your inner work. I know things about your life that people here that are watching don't know. And I've been on a journey with you. I don't know how long now we're friends. It's like, it's at least 5 or 7 years, whatever it is. We've been through many years. You know, and I think that's important for people to know about you as your training, a part of your training with having that root in Tantra, and then being open to the Western understanding, because the Western way of looking at things is very different than the Eastern way of looking at things. And because you're Western, you know, that you've found that within you and you're able to open that up with your clients. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that because myself, I've learned, and that's why I was like, I was going to bring this on because, you know,
I mean, I think that, you know, having a holistic look at things is really important. We're not just these very straightforward, we're very dynamic and fluid and ever changing, right? So I think it's important when I'm talking with clients, you know, to have an understanding of all the possibilities that they could have, to have an appreciation for whatever their desires are, to be able to go, okay, you want to explore more of the spiritual ends of this? Okay. Do you want to explore more of the kinky ends of this? Do you need just tools to communicate what you want? You know, non-violent communication. You know, do you have reoccurring family traumas? I do family constellations that we need to clear out so that you can have the freedom that you want in your relationships. Like, what is it? My whole thing is like creating fulfilling relationships, and not in the box relationships, but what truly represents the essence of the people in the relationship. And I think to do that successfully, you have to be able to look outside of, you know, the expectations and what is sort of presented to us as normal, because it's not really true. Funny enough. I mean, when you really get to know people, if you really, really get to know people, and you really get to know what they desire in relationships and what their turn-ons are, and how they function and their essence and how it comes into a relationship, no one's relationship is going to be the same. Like,
and we're constantly growing.
yeah, and we are always evolving. I mean, it's so funny because you're not supposed to get into a relationship to change someone, but it's guaranteed that you and your relationship and the person in the relationship will consistently change throughout time.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, just while the listeners are watching, you guys, just a heads up too. Leanne just went into a deeper thing about fulfillment and what she teaches about. So when you go into the network, scroll down, there's at least 10, 20 different times that she's gone live and talked in phase one, when we're in phase one, about some of her ways that she teaches and what she has to offer. So those are some things that highly recommend that you go check out those videos. They're still there. Everything is there, which leads me to my next question. Share with us a little bit about your leadership in the community too, and your public speaking, because I think it's really important what I know of you as a whole, that your clients, they see, oh, so she's done this training. She started off with unconditional love, but you've really done the work. You've actually gone out there and you've seen many, many, many parts of your multi-dimensions as an individual. I've seen that because I've worked with you when you were with eWomen's, and then also when you were with Conscious Living Radio. And here we are in BlisstOut Network. And then you've got an amazing daughter too that you take care of. I've seen you in amazing relationships, and I've seen you help other people. So I think it's important to empower women on knowing like the leadership that you've done and the time that you take to restore what your inner guidance is giving you. So share a little bit about your leadership in the community, public speaking, some of that wonderful stuff that you've done.
Oh, leadership's such an interesting word. So it's funny, when you first brought it up, I'm thinking, yeah, leadership, it's like walking your talk, talking your walk, doing the work. I would say if I go into somebody's classroom, and I love being in beginner's mindset, if I go into someone's classroom and the first thing they start saying is that they know everything, I just want to pack my books and walk back out. Because I think that we're always learning. And I think that being a true leader is being in your humility, is being on new that your opinions and ideas are transforming as time moves on. And to really walk your talk, to be in congruence and to be in integrity and be in alignment with what you're teaching. And so when you said leadership, that's kind of like the first thing that came to mind. And then you're like talking about leadership in the community. And yes, I also do that. I have felt over the years, it's really important to stand up and to speak. Even though speaking never came naturally to me, I was shy. I was scared of people's opinions. I was like your least likely to be getting out there and really stepping into those positions and speaking as much as I have. But deep down, my whole thing is really about service. And what has continued to propel me into my edges around leadership and community is that if I don't do it, who is going to do it? If I'm not willing to model this, who will? I think that every individual person has such unique gifts to offer the world. And if we're hiding them away, what are we doing? We were brought here to share our particular essence and gifts, whether it's being leaders in our own home, like with our own children, which yes, I do, and that's important. My daughter's, as you know, neurodiverse. I'm neurodiverse, so we don't really have a very typical family. And we use lots of the tools that I teach within my family, not only in my relationships with work and with significant others, but also with my child, because I really want her to grow up having the tools that I had to learn as an adult now, and to be able to avoid perhaps some of the traumas that I ended up experiencing because of a lack of tools. So yeah, it's been really important for me to be involved in the community. because, yeah, I think that we're all here for a purpose.
Well, you talk about tools, which leads me to the next question. Now, another couple of things I know about you that I love, and which I see multi-diverse, which gives you that characteristic as a healer, holistic resource for us, is also how you stand in opening up many doors of your own personality. One was comedy, your passion with crystals, tarot, oracle, and then currently coming into your flow state because of what you keep learning by listening to your guidance. Share us a little bit about your creativity in those areas, how that's helped you grow, how that also affects, intimacy coaching, because I think it allows you to be very playful.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's funny. I mean, if I went back to my younger self, I mean, I don't know if I'd know who I was in the future. I didn't think I was creative. I didn't think a lot about myself, and yet I look back and at 11, I was like, I want to be a writer. I want to, change politics. I had this innate understanding that we had so much more potential than we had as humans. I was doing psychic readings, but I just didn't put a lot of, into it. I didn't realize really my own value, which I think happens to a lot of people. And then, as I got further on, of course, I was still doing psychic readings, but I was doing them like behind the scenes for clients. So before they came in, I was doing a reading, and it just always ended up being really true. Anyways, and one of my clients found out, she's like, what do you mean you're doing these readings and you're not telling me I would pay you to do this? And so it was like, oh my gosh, I need to integrate this. So much of it has been a journey of integration and edges, exploring edges.
Great word.
So it was like, why am I not having my intuitive gifts in my business? Why am I making that separate? That seems weird. And then, I decided, why is it that I think that I'm not creative? I started looking back at these like things that I drew in high school. They were intensely I was like, wow, I draw a gorilla really well. Why do I think I'm not creative? So I pulled out some canvases and started painting. And then comedy was interesting because I was doing talks, like TED style talks. Mm-hmm. And I got this feedback that my life story was a bit depressing. And I was like, well, yes, certainly I've been in the darker realms, yes, but there's a lot of light at the end of the story. But they were like, yeah, you need to make it funny. I'm like, wow, how do I make like this PTSD and sexual trauma and rape, like all of this stuff funny? And I don't know. I was just like, I feel like this is an edge for me because I didn't also feel funny. So I signed up for a comedy class. And I mean, what a shocker. First day, she's like, write down all your jokes because, you may not be as funny as you think. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't come to this class because I thought I was funny. I came to this class so you could teach me to be funny. And she laughed. She had never before in 20, 30 years ever had a student come into a comedy class that didn't think they were already funny. So I set out to make my life trauma funny. And that's what I did. I created a whole skit around all of the stuff that people don't understand around the trauma, around neurodiversity, around sexual orientation, around kink, around abuse, and about my family life even, and set out to make it humorous. And it's been a lot of fun. Usually the first time I go in front of a crowd, I sort of crack the first joke and they just look at me in silence, like, should we laugh at this? And you just have to hold so that they know they have permission because they think it's funny, but they think you can't laugh at it because it's also traumatic. Yeah. Right. And we have this thing in our society where we think it might be inappropriate to make light of our trauma. And yet laughter is healing. It is healing. It helps us break through those boundaries. So when we can give ourselves and others permission to be playful about our failures and our traumas and to laugh about them and to joke about them and to also still take them, serious in terms of working towards what we want, there's this beautiful magical thing that happens that allows a great deal of transformation to happen with a lot more ease.
So good. So well said. I really appreciate that. And what I really appreciate too is seeing, the multifacets. You got a little bit of a personal story coming through your comedy, which we don't know that much about. And I don't want to go too much into it, but that's what I believe, in knowing you and appreciating you, is that you're a great survivor and you're a great leader to our community for parts of your stories, which, anybody can direct message you and share and open. And I highly recommend that because I think of the privacy involved. But, what I do in knowing you is knowing somebody that has such a wonderful impact on my life as a friend, but also as a leader and working together over the years. I've seen your story and I've seen you so optimistic and so well, in alignment with your higher self. And I really feel like listeners, as you're watching, this is one of the most beautiful things about Leanne is that she keeps doing her work on herself daily, and the immense downloads that she has and her natural ability for receptivity and sensitivity using oracles. Didn't talk enough about crystals because this girl's got tons of crystals.
My crystals. Yes, my crystal babies.
A ton of crystals. And I know over the years when you had your healing location, there was a ton of crystals there. But just having the opportunity to share methodologies of your own personal growth and then empowering others, I think is one of your best qualities. So, which leads us to the next question about, a combination of your leadership, but even on social media. Tell us a little bit about the previous soul talks and places that have led you to this path, because you've done a lot of work, not only on yourself, but in leading your own personal legacy, which I really believe is your legacy, and which is continually always unfolding in the work that you leave every moment that you're here on earth, present in the now. But tell us a little bit about soul talks and maybe when you were with Conscious Living Radio, a little bit about all these things that you have on social media,
Yeah, so Soul Talks really was birthed out of this observation. It was a witnessing. And what I witnessed is that when people on stage really completely open up their soul and they align with their essence and they see something that is so deeply truthful, there is something that shifts in their energy field, and I would watch it shift in the entire audience. And even if they didn't say a word in that moment, there was a transformation that occurred. It's almost like the entire energy of a room changes. It's like someone's soul opens and everybody else kind of opens in response to it. And so there was TED Talks was just kind of, also around at that point, wasn't everywhere. And I had friends that had been applying for it or going through the journey, and they were being censored and they were being told, there's not enough scientific data around that, or like, that's like, we don't want you to tell that part of your story. And I was kind of a little disheartened as like, how do we move forward as a society if everything needs to be scientifically proven before we take it seriously? Because as I see it, and not everybody agrees with this, but as I see it, we have intuitively known things about ourselves, about our world, about how to operate for thousands of years, which really work. And there was no scientific data. I was teaching meditation before there was scientific data saying that meditation was good. It worked. And we needed to put that idea out there for there to even be enough interest for people to scientifically study it and then prove it. So I think that there's so much that is important for us to share that we know about the world that has not yet been scientifically proven. And that having the ability to discern for ourselves what information feels right and not is important. I don't need someone censoring things for me. I don't need somebody telling me what they think is appropriate for me to learn or not learn. I can tap into my heart and soul and feel when there's truth in something and when there is not truth in something. And so with that trusting of humans and this thing that I saw on stage, I started Soul Talks, and really it was an opportunity for speakers to come onto the stage, and I would talk to them beforehand, and to put aside all their prefabricated talks and to say on stage for 20 minutes to talk about the one thing that they would want the person that they loved most in this world to know for sure before they ever left this world. So the most important message they would ever have to share with the most important human in their life. And it was really great. And then we would have panels where we all spoke, and we'd have audience members come up onto the panel and also be able to join the conversation, because I don't think real discussion is about people just speaking at people from stages. I think there's an interaction that is really beautiful that can occur. So that was how Soul Talk started, and it's not currently active because I basically got it so big that I couldn't work and I couldn't take care of my child at that point. So it's something that I know is going to become more active again, but it's definitely something I need to make sure I have a very different plan around so they can operate more without me and in a way that works better. And I only will do it in person. So COVID, this doesn't work for me. I'm not doing it online.
Well, I love everything you said about that. I'm so empowered by that. A part of what I do and what we reflect is why we're really great friends. And I love everything you said. I want to see that if we have anything to offer now, because we're running short on time, a little bit about the therapies that you offer, quickly talk a little bit about sacred sexuality healing methods, and how people can get a hold of you.
Okay. So basically I help people have fulfilling relationships and intimacy, and it's not boxed, so it's very inclusive. So, I have lots of experience in lots of different types of relationship structures, all of that. And I really help people navigate all the ins and outs of really creating that truly fulfilling relationship from the inside out, I say. So it's creating that relationship outwardly, first with ourselves and then with others, because that's how I believe we can be most successful. Part of that, yes, is, hypnotherapy to help people navigate subconscious things much quicker, family constellations, coaching, energy work, feminine masculine dynamics, emotional release work, somatic work, including sacred sexual healing. So I actually do hands-on sacred sexual healing work. If someone lives near me, I used to do retreats where I taught people how to do this on each other, because what a beautiful thing to learn with your partner. But with COVID, that's on hold. But I can still teach people online how to do it with each other. And it's just so beautiful, whether, it's just learning to connect more deeply, or you're learning how to come into divine union with yourself sexually and others, whether it's clearing out trauma or sexual issues that you're having. It's beautiful. And I feel very blessed to be able to do that work. Did I cover it?
Yes, you did. Amazing.
Yeah. So I do online work. So we can talk online and have sessions. And I also do in person if you are in the Lower Mainland area, or you want to come over to the Lower Mainland area. And I do like full private 1 or 2 day retreats here at my home if people want to come and stay and just have some major breakthroughs very quickly as well.
Amazing. So viewers, you guys, we're going to have an opportunity for you to get a hold of Leanne on either direct message her on her Facebook. She's also on Instagram. Let her know, use hashtag BlisstOut, that you've seen this video. She's going to give you an offer. She always is ready to offer to serve and to give you guys an opportunity to grow with her. I'm so excited for you, Leanne, always, because I appreciate and love you. I believe in you. I want you to be drenched in abundance, always, from the center of my heart. And I'm so grateful that you made time to show up today.
Absolutely. And you want an offer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, how about this? I will, so I'm one of these crazy people that charges for consults because I give a lot. I just don't do a consult. I listen to you. I help you navigate. I help you explore. I help you find some clarity. I help you find some next steps because I really believe that in giving value. And I know a lot of people say that, and I actually give value. I don't sort of give you the runaround. It's like 3 sort of interesting steps that you'd have no idea how to follow through. I will actually give you like firm, grounded next steps that you can do, period. And we could never talk again. That'd be totally cool. Because I know that my service is where my service is, and I know that when I give comes back. So how about this? I will offer a complimentary mini session, which is valued at about $200 to anybody that would like it. Yeah, and just contact me. Just say you've seen this. Tell me it was through the BlisstOut, and I will send you a link for you to book that free of charge.
On that note, let's enjoy a little bit more music, guys. Thank you so much for your time, Leanne. All my love and light. You're a goddess on this earth, and we need more of you. So enjoy, viewers. That's Leanne. Make sure you message her. And her music. Namaste.